Hey, the calendar has just flipped to September. That means we're only 4 weeks away from the start of another NBA training camp. Stacey's going back to work very soon, coming up with the preseason game starting the first week of October. This is episode 44 of Give Me the Hot Sauce. And if you're watching on YouTube, which you always should be to enjoy all the fun, people have been asking for more Southside. So there you see, right next to Whispers, Southside Suzy. On camera for the entire show. So when you hear the laugh, it's not just in the distance. You'll be able to see her lovely face. Welcome.
Look at her.
Thank you.
Welcome to prime time.
Look at her.
Our new nickname is FaceTime.
Yeah, FaceTime. Yeah.
You know, we've had a lot of numbers recently that have kind of been blah in terms of former athletes who wore that particular digit. But I'll tell you what, 44 are some of the all-timers. You go to baseball, Hammer and Hank Aaron, longtime home run king before Barry Bonds topped him. And then, of course, Reggie Jackson wore the number 44 for the Yankees, famous 3 home run game in the World Series. Willie McCovey knocking balls out of Candlestick Park. Anthony Rizzo now with the Yankees. He's wearing some weird number with the Yankees now, 50 something or 48 maybe. I think it is.
I think it's 48
because 44 is unavailable. So you go to basketball. Jerry West, the logo, wore 44. He was something special in his playing days. I know for a lot of younger listeners, if you didn't see Jerry West as a player, that guy was unbelievable what he could do. George Gervin, the Iceman, we know he could finger roll. And Pistol Pete Maravich wore 44 when he came into the league with the Atlanta Hawks. And I'll tell you what, Pistol Pete was something. You check him out on YouTube. Well, I start off talking about a Hall of Famer in our midst, Stacey King, who made a trip to Oklahoma. Tell us about the trip and some of the people you saw down there. I imagine it was a nice turnout.
It was. I was brought down by Porter Moser, former Loyola coach, who now is the University of Oklahoma head man. And it was an introduction for him. It was a golf outing, alumni golf outing. We always put on a nice thing. It's been the first time I've been back in probably about 7-8 years. I've been kind of boycotting. And so I broke the boycott for Porter Moser. Yeah, I was boycotting. Yes, I was boycotting. Not because something that had to do with me. It's about other alumni. I want to see them start treating the alumni a little bit better. So I was boycotting.
Welcome back.
To help the little man. That's what I do. To help the little man.
And you drove there and back on your own. What kind of deep thoughts was Stacey King having on the trip to Oklahoma?
Personal reflections.
Yeah, I had plenty of personal reflections.
Yeah.
Thinking about the White Sox game, I'll be doing this tomorrow.
Well, you're not nervous about that.
No. Oh, is that the music? Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
There we go, America. The best fight song in America. That's right. There you go. Oh, boy, I feel like running down a tunnel right now, baby. Run out through the little cloud of smoke, the dry ice, and go drop 40 on somebody. I can only do that in my mind now. I can't do that physically, but in the mind, I can still drop 40.
Yeah, you had a good one on Twitter the other day. Somebody said happy birthday to a former rival of yours. He said, yeah, I just dropped 40 on his ass.
Yeah, I did. You know how us old folks are now, that we like to look back on some of our accomplishments. And somebody put a photo of him scoring over me.
Was it Iowa State?
Yeah, it was Iowa State. Victor Alexander. He was a very good player. He was a very good player at Iowa State. And he happened to score one bucket. And that was the one bucket that he scored on me. And it made it look like, it looked like he was giving me the business. Yeah. But I had to go ahead and, just add that I gave him 40 that night. Matter of fact, I averaged about 40 against him. So I just wanted to happy birthday and take this 40 with you.
Hey, we want to let everybody know we've got a special guest coming up in just a few minutes.
Woo!
John Paxson, the former executive vice president of basketball operations, of course, a teammate of Stacey's on the first three-peat Bulls team. He's going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes. So you're going to want to hear that interview. That's coming up. And were some of your former Oklahoma teammates there for the weekend? Yeah, we had quite a few. It was a good turnout. I'm still moving kind of gingerly with COVID. That was kind of a little bit, there's so many people there want to come up to you and talk. And even though I'm vaccinated, I was still a little nervous about it. And then I stayed off campus in a VRBO at a nice little house I was staying in. It was really nice. And then I didn't even know that Oklahoma was, had the dispensaries, to sell marijuana. I didn't know this. I happened to be getting some gas. Yeah. I was happened to get some gas, and I'm just looking as I'm just pondering my thoughts. I'm looking across the street. I'm like, is that a dispensary?
I'm like,
Those
I wonder if they got the gummies.
Those are Haribo gummies.
That's what I'm saying. Forget the Coca-Cola gummies, baby. I was trying to get me some feel-good gummies. And so I went over there, America, just to see what it looked like, because I'd never been in one.
So just browsing.
I was just browsing, just a concerned citizen, make sure they weren't selling anything illegal to children. I just walked over to see what they were doing. And, of course, you got to have a little medical card.
Pineapple Express.
Yeah. I had to have a little medical card, which I have some friends that, can print those out for me very quickly if I needed to get something.
That's what Photoshop's all about.
So, but it was, I couldn't believe we had so many of them. It was like, there was one on every corner. It was like Walgreens. There was one on every corner where I was staying at. It was amazing.
Well, we're glad you're back safe and sound. I'm sure it was nice to get away, but it's also nice to come home.
I tell you what, I noticed something about myself, America, when I'm driving by myself. I need someone to talk to. I do. I felt like a prisoner being put in solitary confinement when they put you in a little
calling.
You
wouldn't leave you alone. Now Whispers.
Yeah. Okay, Whispers is in rare form already right now. Yeah. It's after 5 o'clock.
Happy hour edition.
2 beers in, and he's ready to go, America. He has not stopped talking since we got on. And now he's sharing the camera. He's got a sidekick in Southside who gets him up. 30 years of abuse.
30 years.
Hey, one of the things that happened while you were away, the Bulls made a trade, Lowry Markkanen into Cleveland. I know you were hoping that maybe they could salvage him, bring a shooter off the bench, but he's going to Cleveland. The Bulls get a first and second round draft pick, plus they get Derek Jones Jr., former slam dunk champion. He won it right here in Chicago when the All-Star weekend was here. And he's a guy with some versatility. At 6'5", he can jump out of the gym. I think in certain situations, you could probably play him a little bit at power forward if you had to.
Well, I mean, they had to move Lowry. We knew that. So, and they got draft picks back. I mean, that's something that, when you looked at before, they were giving up draft picks to make trades. Now they're able to get a first and a second round back. They brought in, Derek Jones, who's a very good athlete, another guy that you can put in and do multiple positions defensively. Mm-hmm. He's going to rebound the basketball. And if anything, he's going to be in transition. This is going to be America. Chicago Bulls fans, this is going to be so much fun watching this team play. If one thing they've gotten better is transition, and when you're going to see them push the ball, you're going to see some high flying dunks. I mean, the poster machine, it's going to probably be out by midseason, because we haven't had this many dunking, experts on our team, and there's going to be a lot of them this year.
Your poster machine was a COVID casualty, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah, they kind of took it away from me, Mark. They banned me from it, but I got it back. It's just, because it's like, you have to, there's so much work that has to go into that. There's so many different modules that I use that for some reason weren't working last year. And they mysteriously worked for hockey, but they didn't work for the basketball game. So hopefully this year they'll work that out. It's FingerWorks is what they call it. It's a very good machine. I love it. It puts the players' names on it when I do the autographs. There's so many things it does that I think, people don't know what it is, but just.
Can you bring back your tagline though?
What's that?
Open your mouth and taste it.
Oh, no.
Yes, I did.
First of all, it wasn't open your mouth and taste it.
Oh.
It was open your mouth and take it. Okay, you're a freak.
I don't know if that makes it better.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it does. It sounds a little bit better than that.
Was that an improvement?
Oh, okay, where's the off button for Whispers? He's in rare form right now. Oh, after 5 o'clock, he's like a werewolf. He just turned. He just freaking turned.
The work day is done.
He's done. He's a happy hour, ladies.
Relax.
Oh my God.
Well, it should be fun watching the Bulls on the fast break with Lonzo Ball, great passer like he is, creative, can throw the alley-oop lobs. He's got Zach LaVine on one wing. He's got Derek Jones Jr. on the other. You got a spot-up shooter in DeRozan. Patrick Williams can finish. They got a lot of options on offense now.
They're definitely going to be fun to watch. They've upgraded their roster tenfold. If you ask me, I mean, we talked about Nick Friedel and him saying they're 11 seed fringe team.
Right, fringe playoff team.
Well,
Nick Friedel, he who shall not be named, like Voldemort.
I don't think he should come to Chicago anytime soon.
Nah.
Based on,
I've talked to the fans about it. Leave Nick alone, man. Nick has an opinion. Nick, that's his opinion. But I will say this: they're a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference on paper starting today. Okay, does that mean they're going to end up top 5? They have to play the games. A lot of things factor into that: injuries, COVID. Those two things are going to factor into a lot of teams this year. You saw what happened last year, how many games people missed with COVID. It really kind of, turned the playoff series upside down a little bit. So the Bulls got to stay healthy and, avoid COVID, missing long periods of games. In their defense, they've got to commit to defense. They've got to come out and really get after teams to really solidify themselves of being not just a team that's going to get past the first round, but a team has a chance to go deep into the playoffs.
I'd like to interrupt this program alert because Paxson just joined the Sriracha waiting room. So possibly maybe we bring him in, take a quick break and bring him in, or do we want to keep him waiting?
No, we don't keep John Paxson waiting. So
maybe
we're gonna bring Paxson. We can ask him about some of the things going on around the league, although I know he can't comment on other organizations' players, but we can get back to that later. We can talk about which teams improve themselves the most, the whole Ben Simmons drama. Is he going to be traded? That's coming up a little bit later, but next, John Paxson, our special guest, episode 44 of Give Me the Hot Sauce. It's a happy hour edition. Drink up, Whispers.
Cheers.
Yes, Bulls fans will always remember that moment from the first three-peat. John Paxson hitting the big shot in Phoenix to clinch championship number 3. Of course, there was a little block shot by Horace after that, which kind of helped out too. But time to welcome in John Paxson, our good friend, kind enough to join us from his vacation home in Florida. Pax, how you doing? Whenever we have one of Stacey's ex-teammates, one of the first things I'm always curious about is, when did you know that Stacey was going to have this huge career in media and entertainment? Because he was funny right off the bat. All of his ex-teammates tell us that they could tell right away that Stacey was an entertainer.
Oh, yeah. Like once you first got to meet him, but you guys know Stacey as well as anybody. I mean, he can carry a conversation. I'll put it like that. So, and he's funny. He's got a really, really good sense of humor. Stacey, I'll tell you something that when just bringing that, the first thing that pops up into my head is when we were in the finals, I think it was our first year, and they had podiums at the corners of the court at the stadium. And you got up in front of one and started imitating Bill Cartwright. and Bill was trying to track you down, but he couldn't get you. So,
I still hear about that today, Pax.
But no, I mean, you could tell Stacey was destined to do something where he could use his personality and his ability to tell stories and talk and to give to give it as much as he gets it,
Stacey said him and BJ had to deal with some rookie hazing. Not terrible, but they had a lot of duties to do.
It didn't come from me.
No. Pax was one of the good ones. Paxson and Bill Cartwright were one of the good ones. It was those other guys. Those guys that, those guys who got all the attention. Those guys. Yeah.
How bad? It was like, what did they make you do? They made you bring like donuts and stuff like that.
Remember the night they sent me to go get fried chicken and I didn't show up?
Is that Harold's? Did you have to go to Harold's and get?
I was supposed to go get some chicken at Harold's or Kentucky Fried Chicken, whoever was open. It was after a game, and then we had to catch a flight that night from O'Hare. That's when we were still flying commercial. And, the story goes that I got lost. Everybody's, the rookie got lost. No, the rookie didn't get lost. The rookie was pissed because they sent me to go get chicken, and there was other people they could have went to go get it. They sent me, Michael Jordan, you go get the chicken. You better not come back on a plane without the chicken. I said, well, okay, Mr. Jumpman. We'll just see about that. We'll see how high you jump without getting this chicken tonight. Yeah. And so I jumped in my car and went home. And then I called Karen Stack that night and said, hey, I'm lost. I'm in the city, but I was in my bed talking the whole time. No one knew that story. No one knew the story. Hey, statute of limitations, Pax. Statute of limitations. Because I can imagine if Phil Jackson would have known that I did that, man, I would have been in some trouble. Hey. Okay, Phil. Sorry, Phil. I'm not gonna do it, Phil. I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it, Phil. No, can't do it.
Hey, Pax, Stacey told us a great story about when he came in for a workout before the draft that he had to go up against a guy that he thought was Dave Corzine and was really Phil Jackson. He was trying to kick the assistant coach's ass, and he got into a little bit of a trouble with that, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was Dave Corzine. They didn't introduce us properly, so they brought me in. They said I had worked out for Al and Eric to do the conditioning things, and it was Johnny Bach, it was Doug Collins. Doug Collins was the head coach at the time, And they said, hey, we want you to do a little working out on the court, and we want to, test your speed and, do some moves. And so I immediately said, I can't do it because David Falk told me not to work out. He said, don't work out no matter what. And Johnny Bach and them made me feel, how Johnny Bach was. What are you, the P word? You're queers and steers from Oklahoma. And I'm like, okay, dude, okay, let's put the shoes on. Let's go. So I go to work out. And so it was an easy workout. It was just run the floor, do. And then all of a sudden, we're going to bring somebody in to give you a little resistance. So I'm like, well, who? Who's? I didn't see any former players out there or any current players working out. So all of a sudden, I see this guy with gray hair,
and
he was stooped over coming into the old multiplex. And so as he's coming in, I saw enough WGN games of the Bulls because Harvey Grant, Horace's twin brother, we'd always sit and watch the Bulls play. So I kind of thought I knew what Dave Corzine looked like.
Yeah.
So he wasn't one of the main players that we followed on the Bulls.
Sure.
But I kind of thought I knew what he looked like. And I thought, Phil was Dave Corzine. So here comes Dave Corzine, who I thought comes in. And so he said, I'm going to give you a little resistance. I want you to drop step, jump hook. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I do the move, boom, boom, and he's banging me. Bam, he knocks me to the floor. And I said, hey, man, hey, Corzine, chill out, bro. This is supposed to be non-contact. And he's like, shut up and play. Don't be a P. So I get mad. So I'm like, okay, so it's like that. Okay, Dave Corzine, I'm going to show you something. So Doug now sees what's getting ready to happen. So Doug's laughing and they think it's funny. So they said, okay, let's run that same play again. So this time I did the same play, but I did a little extra. I hit him in the throat with the elbow as I spun baseline, and I knocked him off balance, and then I dunked the ball, and then I threw the ball at him. I said, now you don't play like a P. And I threw it at him, and he's like, he's trying to attack me. And I'm like, I'm in the battle stance. I'm like, I'm ready to fight him. And Eric Helen grabs me, and they're separating us. And I said, I'm going to kill you, Corzine. I'm going to kill you. And my thinking was I had to show the player that I'm not afraid of you because you're an older dude. I'll fight you. I don't care. And then so we're walking off to the showers in the multiplex, and Eric goes, oh man, he goes, man, you're a real tough one. He goes, we need someone like that for the Pistons. And he goes, do you know who you were going at it with? And I said, yeah, Dave Corzine. Man, Dave Corzine don't know who he's messing with. So he starts laughing, and he's like, oh man, that's not Dave Corzine. And I'm like, well, who is it? He said, you ever heard of Phil Jackson? And at that time, I didn't know who Phil Jackson was. I didn't know he played for the Knicks and all that. He said he's an assistant coach, and he's the big man coach, and he played for the Knicks. He won a championship. And I'm like, oh, it was like the sand dropping out of an hourglass. It just just exited out of me, man.
As funny as that story is, that what that highlights to me is that you felt going into that workout, because my barometer now is how guys come in to work out now. That never would have happened. Like if your agent had told you not to work out, you wouldn't have worked out because, but back in that day, you were like, I'm going to prove myself. That's what they want to do. I'm going to show them. But I'm telling you what, right now, if guys come in, man, there's exactly what they're permitted to do from their agent. And so, it was different. It was different.
Does that make it hard for you, Pax, to get a fair evaluation of a guy, other than you've watched them all year long at whatever school they may play? But when you bring them in, because back when we came in, they challenged us. They challenged us in the workouts. They challenged us in the conditioning when we worked out with Al. How much has that actually changed?
Well, it's changed a lot because there's so many rules. You can only have 6 guys on the floor at one time. But if you're talking about high level picks, they just come in on their own. And so it's very hard to make any judgment on the top players in an individual workout. In fact, sometimes it hurts them because if you do ask them to go through things, it's one guy, so it might even be just shooting drill, but there's nobody to spell them or anything like that. So the biggest advantage, I'm not going to think of a handful of examples where, not that it swayed decisions, but it either impressed you or, it made you wonder a little bit more about what you'd already seen. But the best thing now is when you finally get a chance to meet these kids and you kind of see who they are in your environment. And anytime you can put these guys into some competitive situation, like even if you're just making them compete against themselves, it's in shooting drills or, running the floor or whatever it is, you see who they are as competitors. And that's the thing to me that I would always try to learn a little bit more about, but making decisions based on a workout. If you haven't done your work by the time they step in your building on the player, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and sometimes just by having a meal or a conversation with somebody, you can learn a lot about a guy. I understand you had an interesting dinner with Michael Beasley when you were trying to figure out who to pick in 08.
Oh yeah. No, it was, and look, it's not anything negative about the young man, because you got to, I always would step in these, and my first thought was always, okay, how did this young guy grow up? I mean, I have a completely different perspective, so, but yeah, I mean, Michael came in and we went out to dinner, and, he was wearing shorts. Yeah, he had 2 or 3 phones, and he's looking at him the whole meal, and, not engaging with us and stuff. And, it was, I mean, when you sit in those situations, you're like, whoa. And you compare that to when we sat down with Derek, and Derek came in a suit, and I mean, you could tell he wanted to play at home. And, he was sincere and took it seriously. And I don't criticize Michael Beasley. It's really his representatives who didn't prepare him for his job interview more than anything. Kid's 19 years old, so, but yeah, that's what I was talking about. You learn so much from getting an opportunity to sit down with them and getting to know them a little bit.
When you worked alongside Jerry Krause and you saw how he did things, what were some of the things that you took away when you first started as a GM? Like, Jerry would be considered a guru, doesn't get the credit that he deserves for building those championship teams. And when you had time to sit down and talk to him and pick his brain, what were some of the things that you said, what, I think that would work for me, I'm going to use that, and maybe some things that didn't work for you?
Well, the one thing I always respected about Jerry was he always had this belief in himself that he was going to succeed, and he was very confident in the decisions he made. Like when he would make a draft pick, he had done his work, and he had some little idiosyncrasies in terms of what he saw in players. He liked, he liked big guys. I mean, big guys were his thing. I mean, if a guy had size and length, and but the thing I knew is I had to be myself first and foremost. I couldn't be Jerry. And the one thing I've learned is that each of us has, like, if we've been around the game a long time, and I have a way of viewing the game and viewing players, what I see, what I like to see, and like we all want the great talent. I mean, but it's difficult. Think how often great players have slipped, out in the draft. I mean, Giannis goes 15, Kawhi Leonard goes 15, Jokic is a 2nd round pick. That part of it's so hard. So like I just always, I loved tough, competitive guys. And, and I, especially when we first started, in 2003. And if you recall, my first draft, we Jay Williams got in a motorcycle accident the week before our draft, that first draft. And he was just coming off his first year. And we were, we were counting on Jay to be a huge part of the team. And that thing happened. And so, we started, the philosophy as much as anything was, and again, remember this, the team had been through a 5-year rebuild, young players, it hadn't really manifested in wins. And I just sat there and go, we need an identity. It's got to be some real toughness. And so we drafted Kirk Heinrich that year. And the next year we got Ben Gordon and Lou Dang. And, that led into drafting Joe Keem. And, I can go down the list, and they're not all successes, but, it reflected kind of the tough mindedness that we wanted to be. And, but Jerry was really smart. And I'll tell you where I still believe where he doesn't get enough credit is in identifying coaches. Having sat in that chair for a long time, I still think the hardest thing to do and the toughest decision to make is hiring a really, really good head coach, somebody that understands, in this day and age especially, somebody who understands the big picture, the entire organization, and then, you know, on the floor can teach and can coach game situations. You know, what he doesn't get enough credit for is hiring initially a guy like Tex Winter, who Stacey and I were lucky enough to play for. And, you know, we were lucky in terms of growing up in that era of where fundamental basketball, footwork, those things were taught and drilled every single day. And it could be monotonous and boring, but it's what we did every day. And as I reflected back on that, I think Jerry had a keen eye for, you know, teachers of the game. And he certainly doesn't get enough credit for, you know, bringing Doug Collins in the first time I played for Doug, the 3 years he was there. He was exactly what we needed at the time in terms of his passion and energy, and he got us playing so hard and tough. And outside of Michael and a few others, for a while there, we weren't as real talented, but he had us playing hard, and then identifying Phil to come in. So that's a tough thing to do, and it's you know, now we're in an era where our staffs are so big. I mean, we have a lot of coaches, a lot of player development players. I think it can be even harder to identify the guys that get it. But yeah, Jerry was bright. He was really, and you can't knock a guy that won 6 championships as the head of the organization.
Pax, let's go back to your playing days. You mentioned the fact that Doug Collins was coaching, then Phil came in. And he probably always held that work on it with Stacey against him.
You know, when you said that, Stacey, I thought the same thing. I go, hey, there's sometimes Phil's kind of tough on you. Now I know why.
It makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it, Pax?
Way to go, Pax. Way to go. Your check's in the mail, baby.
You know, one of the things that really came across loud and clear in the Last Dance documentary, which, you know, people have different opinions on it, and it was more about the second three-peat than the first three-peat, but what really came through was how tough Michael could be on his teammates. And for those of us in the media, you know, we didn't get a chance to watch practice. We talked to you after practices and after games, and none of us really knew the dynamic, but it took a special kind of player to succeed in that environment. What do you think made you so successful playing alongside Michael Jordan and being coached by Phil Jackson and that staff?
Well, you know, the interesting story I have in relation to Michael is that when we were both in college, we spent a month one summer playing on a USA basketball team. And I actually roomed with Michael down in Nashville. We trained for a week at Vanderbilt. C.M. Newton was the coach at Vanderbilt at the time, was the coach of this team that we went overseas with. And so I spent some, you know, I obviously spent some time with Michael. Not that I got to know him great, but you know, you could tell how really good he was going to be. But on that trip, we actually went over, and outside of Michael, and we kind of had a misfit group. It wasn't a bunch of big name college players. And we went over the first 2 games we played against the 10 best players in Europe. And if you remember Chichenko, the big Russian, and there's a guy named Delapagic who was like 30 years old, and I mean, a man, you know, and he could score. So we went and played them the first game, we got our butts kicked. I mean, they were men against, it was men against boys. But we then went and played some more equal level teams, and we were in some little gym in this town, Zadar, Yugoslavia, and I made a shot at the buzzer to win it. And I always kind of said to myself, you know what, as time went on, that, you know, Michael probably, okay, that might be one of his first remembrances of me as a player, you know, that I can maybe step up in a situation and do something. So, you know, that's kind of a prelude to your question, but it's, and I always come back to this word, but Michael had to trust you as a competitor. It's really, in my mind, it was that simple. He had to trust you as a competitor, and he didn't like, you know, you being any nonsense in terms of, you know, how you played. He just wanted you to go out and compete. And, you know, I was always one of those players that just, my whole goal, the first 6 years, 7 years in league, was to survive. I mean, I wanted to keep playing that next year. You know, I had a couple of 2-year guaranteed contracts, you know, through my first 6 years. And, you know, that for me, it was survival. And so I was going to compete, you know, and you know, I always made the joke that when I first got there in '85, They had Kyle Macy, and then they started bringing in a bunch of different guys, Sadale Threet, Steve Coulter. I mean, you just go down to Sam Vincent, just keep going down the list and list and list. And for me, it was like, I just got to keep grinding. I'm going to try to find a way to stay. But and Stacey, you saw it too. But I think the biggest thing was, could he trust you as a competitor? And if he was going to live with that.
Yeah, we talked about the first three-peat and, some of the experience that, each Horace and all the guys had going into it, how hard that was to get by Detroit as a group. And then all of a sudden coming together after that game 7 in Detroit, because you had the hurt knee, you hurt your knee in game 6 and had to
my ankle.
You were out. You were out.
Yeah.
So we were missing you. And then we had Scotty with the migraine headache. And we all remembered at the end of that game in the locker room where, Jerry had came in and gave his little, speech, kicking towels, little legs, kicking towels, and no one really wanted to hear it. And then, then MJ got up and said, this is the last time this is going to happen. And there was like a bolt of lightning, like they went through the locker room. And I think everybody like grasped that. And then it was the mentality after that, because we always worked out as with 5, 6, 7 guys. But after that loss, we all started doing things together and started doing more team-oriented stuff. And I thought all of us thought that was the turning point.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It was, I still, I'm thankful that I played during that time. I mean, because, and again, it's all reflecting back, but the fact that we had to and we took our hits from Detroit in more ways than one. And it was, I can remember many times like being embarrassed, we keep getting our butts kicked by these guys, and we've got to find a way to, break through somehow if we're ever going to, be a finals team. And I agree with you though, that's we ended up, you're right. Everything was simpler back then. Like the way we worked out in the summertime, we weren't required to spend 2 hours a day on the court early in a summer, like we'd get our runs in later in the summer a lot, but we were in the weight room together and conditioning with Al Vermeil and Eric Helland. And it lended itself more to kind of coming together as a group. You didn't feel like such an individual. You felt like you're really a part of this thing. But I agree with you, man. All those hits we took from them, that did culminate in that game. And we made, we ended up getting home court advantage then that next year. And that was really the one thing we really needed. We'd always talked about that. If we can ever get home court from them, we can beat them. And we did, obviously.
Hey, for our younger listeners and viewers who haven't seen John play, he could run hot. You ran near the league in technical fouls a lot of times.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mark. Yeah.
No, but a lot of people see you as an executive, behind the scenes. Man, you were tough on those officials. I guess that gets back to the fact that you were in that survival mode. You were not going to give an inch to anybody out there. When you thought the referees weren't giving you justice, you had to let them know about it.
I'd get pissed because, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. One year, Stacey will remember this. The officials would come in before the season and they'd sit down and have like a 30-minute talk and go over any new, rules or points of emphasis they were going to call. And one year early in my career, I'm sitting in there, and Daryl Garrettson, the longtime head of officials, was given his spiel, and he's talking about. And again, this game was officiated totally different back then, but he says something along the lines that, we know who the great players in this league are. Michael Jordan's a great player. And so if you're out on the floor and Michael fouls somebody, and I know he's got 4 or 5 fouls, he goes, Paxson, I'm giving that foul to you. And so I sit there and go, bullshit. It's like, no way, that's, but that's, that's the way it was. So I had a quick temper. I just always felt like most of my stuff would come when I thought I was in really good defensive position, because I always thought that I had good, I could move my feet well enough to stay in front of guys. And so when they would run me over and they'd call a block, that would get me upset. And that's usually, I got a lot more technicals that way. So
yeah. Because Pac's like, hey, if I'm gonna move my feet, you got to give me a call here. You can't let Isaiah run over, hit me with an elbow to the chin. And a lot of people don't know that, like, you see the guards in today's game, you know, they have a hard time staying in front of opposing players. John Paxson was a solid defensive player.
Absolutely.
We didn't have to double and help him on a one. I mean, he had to guard some killers on a nightly basis, and his job was to stay in front of those guys, and he stayed in front of them full court, never let him get by, and that helped the defense up top. And I think he doesn't get the credit as being a very good defensive player, because he was, and he was tough. If I had to be in a foxhole, I'm going with Pax. If I got to walk down a dark alley, I'm going with JP. Believe that.
But I'll tell you what, though, again, it's the way the rules were. You could get away with, you know, being a little more physical back then. So like if you had if you had a forearm on a guy or even a hand every once in a while that would help you kind of maintain your position, you could do that. You can't do that now. And these guys today are so gifted offensively. I'll be honest with you, I am amazed at how well many of the players are shooting the ball, especially from range that I never would even considered. You know, like when I first came in the league, the total number of 3-point shots attempted per game by both teams was like 5. I mean, it just was not a part of the offense. And now these guys shoot it with such ease, and, you know, and their ball handling skills. So you combine those two things with the fact that defensively, you can't touch them. I mean, if an official sees, like if a guy makes a move on you and an official sees your hand go out, he's going to call foul on you immediately. And to me, that's just so at least back when we played, I at least could, you know, find a way to, you know, you couldn't hold a guy, but you could at least put your hand on him occasionally and try to steer him. But but hey, look, we all did our part, right? I mean, it was, you tried to, and I'll tell you that the story, Stacey talked about picking up full court. You know, when Phil got the job, he because you guys had just been, you and BJ had just been drafted, right?
Yep.
And so Phil got the job, and within a day or two he called me, and he was kind of running down his expectations, and he said, he goes, I'm going to require my point guards to pick up full court, and he goes, I'm not sure you can do it. And I said, okay, you know, and he said, we've got young kid BJ, and I forget who else we had, but so, you know, it was like, I actually appreciate it, because it was like, okay, you better get yourself in unbelievable shape and be ready when you're called upon. And from the get-go, we started doing, you know, drills of picking up full court and, you know, jumping in the passing lane of the point guard and all those things. And, you know, but it's, I still think it's, and I've told probably every coach that's been through here that story. And I tell them that because I think it's important to challenge players. I think you have to challenge guys, like, and you have to be definitive in what you say to them. So there's not gray area. They have to know exactly what's expected of them. So I think that's where guys get kind of, you know, off the rails a little bit, is when their expectations aren't clearly laid out. And so I was thrilled that they were clearly laid out for me. And I knew if I could do it, I'd play. If I couldn't, I wouldn't play. So I made sure I could do it.
So Pax, after you got done playing, you spent a year as an assistant coach. You worked with the radio broadcast for a while, and then you got into the front office. Long run as GM, executive vice president of basketball operations. Came close to getting a title with Derek in 11. Then he unfortunately got hurt in 12. When you look back over that whole period, what stands out as some of the greatest accomplishments and maybe a regret or two you had along the way?
Well, I mean, I always tend to focus on the things that didn't happen and we didn't do well, you know. And I'm still really proud of the first group we built right out of the gate. You know, when I mentioned earlier, when we drafted Kirk Heinrich, you know, we got the one guy I didn't mention was Nocioni. We signed him.
Yeah.
Right.
The summer we drafted, you know, Ben and Lou, and all of a sudden we had a tough-minded group, and a group that I was really proud of, like, you know, and Scott Skiles was a coach for a short time, and for that short time, I thought he did a really, really good job for us and kind of establishing that culture. And I'll tell you I always felt was one underrated thing we did early on was, and it was within the first month of that first season in 2003, was we made a deal that from a basketball standpoint, we didn't get the best player. It was when we traded Jalen Rose, who was the best player, most talented player, to Toronto, and we got Antonio Davis back. And it was that time where I'm telling you, we were trying to define who we were. And AD was as tough a pro as I had seen. He was exactly what we needed. And that team didn't, we didn't win many games that year, but I think we won 23, but the culture was being established. And so when we got in the next year, we actually lost our first 9 games the following year. And then we went on some runs. We ended up winning 47 games and making playoffs. And then that's when we got back into the whole, like we're a playoff team. And, we didn't have a superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but we had a team that I was really proud of. So I was proud of that. And the Derek years, man, that's, you regret that he got hurt, because he was such an unbelievably great player. A guy that just, his teammates loved and followed and protected. It was really a good thing. And Tibbs at the time did a really good job for us. And so those things, but we made mistakes, obviously, in certain drafts, but you don't want to say names because you don't want to, I'm not here to throw players on,
right.
I recognize as well as anybody where we went wrong and how that went about. I will tell you the 2 toughest things that I dealt with, and I mentioned the Jay Williams one. That was really hard right out of the gate because he's a really good guy. I can't even imagine going through what he had to go through during that time because he almost lost his part of his leg. I mean, it was that bad, and the Duke family really rallied around him and protected him. Took him down to Durham to the medical facilities down there, and we didn't get a ton of information over that time, but you look back and you understand why. I mean, they were really trying to protect him and all that, and then we went through a situation with Eddie Curry that we followed our doctor's advice when he had a little arrhythmia issue in a game down in Charlotte, and there was a time Jerry and I sat together and said, we want to be good to this young man, but we putting him in a Chicago Bulls uniform, kind of following what the doctors had told us, it scared us. I mean, for the kid and for the organization. So that was tough. Now those are kind of things that we spent I can't tell you the amount of time we spent on Eddie and trying to work through all those issues. And, we ultimately moved him to New York and he got a huge payday, which was great for him. But those are the things you can't anticipate happening. And those are you want to concentrate on the game and the players and, all the fun stuff. But that was one that was hard to deal with.
One guy that you really we haven't mentioned is Jimmy Butler. Covered him at Marquette and saw what he did at Marquette, but you took a chance. And did you ever think that Jimmy Butler was going to become the superstar that he is now?
I'm not going to tell you I did because I certainly did. And again, you give him, Jimmy's got something in his makeup that wasn't, you didn't notice it right away, but whether it was through some early challenges that he had, I still remember he came up to us after his first year, and you have to pick up options, rookie option. And he was so grateful we picked up his second year option, because he was playing behind, but he wasn't playing that much his rookie year. But he's one of the great stories in terms of how he just he figured some stuff out. And I think it was, at some point he got in there and he knew he was a worker. I mean, Jimmy's one of the great workers in the game. I mean, he'll he may overtrain at times because he loves that. I believe he feels that gives him a mental advantage when he knows he's out working everybody. But he at some point, I think he looked around our team, the league, and said, I can be as good as any of these guys. I mean, I do. I just, and you can see it every time he plays. And the thing about that I enjoy watching about Jimmy is he plays at his own speed and his own pace. You know, he's not huge. He's not real, you know, he doesn't have great length. You know, you think of like Giannis, great length, and KD, great length. Those aren't, you know, attributes he has, but he knows how to play. He's smart, he's tough. And, you know, every time you look at a box score, he'll have 30 or 35 a lot of times, but usually it's 20, 24, but he's got 11 rebounds, he's got 8 assists, and you go, you know, I mean, he gets it. So, and that was a hard one for us too, when we made the decision to move him. You know, that was a hard decision, but we didn't feel like, well, we felt it was the right thing to do at the time. Again, you don't know. I mean, it's a tough deal.
Talk about Joakim Noah and what went into drafting him, because I know a lot of people weren't really happy, you know, in the with that draft pick, because they, you know, remember the draft day suit,
yeah.
and a lot of people in the hair, you know, Sideshow Bob, and you know, a lot of people were questioning that draft pick, and you know, he came in and it proved that you guys knew what you were doing when you drafted him, because he was a big part of turning the culture around here.
Yeah, first of all, Joakim is he might be my favorite player, just from for many standpoints, but the most genuine guy that I've been around. He didn't ever pull punches. He was never trying to con you. He was never trying to trick you. I mean, if he'd say what was on his mind, and he was just genuine, and he's got this heart of gold. I mean, he just does. But I'll tell you a couple things about that. Is we felt he was like a, you know, top 3 or 4 pick in that draft, you know, and when we, you know, did our homework, we knew he was a good kid. I mean, we knew he was a good kid at his core, and he had some personality to him, and a lot of people can mistake that for, you know, something different. But I saw him his freshman year at Florida. It was one of the early season tournaments in Madison Square Garden. It might have been the Jimmy V. I can't remember, but it was one of those. And you know, Billy Donovan was his coach, and they had Joe at the point of the press, and the entire game, it was like he was on the ball. He sprinted back every possession. He covered ground. He blocked shots. He was just like this live wire, you know, like up and down and emotional and stuff. And I remember texting somebody in our office going like, who is this kid? I mean, I know he's, you know, Yannick knows his kid, but man, this kid's talented. And then you'd watch him shoot and you go, oh no, you know, oh no. But he had, I guess, what I would call basketball character. I mean, toughness, energy, passion. I mean, talk about a kid that loved the game and being a part of a team. I mean, that was Joakim. And so, and I remember very well when we drafted him, and we had to do some things that draft, because we had the 9th pick that year, and we had to convince his agent to not go visit a couple teams, you know, because back then it was very hard if you couldn't get a player into your building, and maybe it's not as it is now with like medical, every team gets medical. You could kind of, you know, hide some, you know, medical information. So it's very hard for a team, especially in the top of the draft. Like if you didn't have all your information on a guy, to take him and go to your owner and say, well, I'm taking this kid, but we don't know about his, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we made sure he didn't go to Milwaukee. They had the 6th pick. He didn't go to Minnesota. They had the 7th pick. And so we were kind of playing, you know, we'd heard some things. We were kind of playing, you know, hoping that he would drop to us. And he ultimately did. And, you know, in terms of like, you know, I remember we're sitting there, if he's not there, we were going to take Spencer Hawes. And, you know, Spencer was he had a nice career, but he didn't have a Joakim Noah career. He was never going to be the player Joakim was. So, I mean, we were really fortunate. But, you know, you talk about his hair, and it was funny. The day before the draft, we told Jerry that this is the kid we wanted. We were targeting, you know, the other guys, there were a few guys at the top of the draft that were going to be gone. But, you know, Horford was in there and that, but this is the guy we want. And he goes, we gotta get him to do something about his hair. And so I got on the phone with his agent and Bill Strickland, and we came to an agreement that Joe would keep it clean and it put it back, it wouldn't be sloppy. So that was it. So, but it's funny how, things come into the, into the discussion and equation, but he's such a good person. I'm really fond of him.
Hey, Pax, take us behind the scenes of the famous 2010 free agency, Wade, LeBron, Bosh. You guys were in there swinging, had great meetings with those guys. Looking back on it with the hindsight, and the fact you also had Dwayne Wade in your organization for a while, he probably told you some things after the fact. Did you feel, looking back on it, that those guys were always going to team up, and as hard as you worked, there was really nothing you could have done to change that?
Well, yeah, in retrospect, you certainly, I think so. And to if that's what they wanted, that to their credit, I do think they were entertaining maybe the best place to go. And if you remember, they didn't take all the money they could have gotten in free agency. Right. They all, so, again, to their credit, in this day and age, you can do those things. You can form those types of teams, and they did that. But it actually, when looking back on it, going through that process, it was a healthy experience, and it was you learn lessons along the way. Could we have done anything different? I don't know. I thought we presented ourselves the right way. And remember, we had Derrick Rose on our team. Right. We had Joe Noah on our team. The one thing I remember we had we had a whole presentation, but one of them was a slide, and it was our starting lineup, so, and we plugged in, there's Derrick Rose, there's LeBron James, there's Dwayne Wade, there's Joakim Noah, I like that lineup. Yeah, exactly. We thought they'd like it too. But that's sports, man. Had it happened, we'd won. I can't believe we wouldn't have won championships along. Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
But we didn't, and it's always woulda, shoulda, coulda, and but it was a healthy process to go through, and from ownership being engaged, Jerry and Michael were very, Jerry's very good in settings like that. When we sat down with LeBron, he spoke honestly, and about what what his expectations were. So it was really good all around, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to do it. And I'll tell you the other interesting thing that along the way that people know a little bit about it, but Jerry and I got a private meeting with Kobe Bryant one year. It wasn't when he wasn't completely happy with the situation, and there was no way the Lakers were ever gonna let him go. I mean, just no way. But the fact, and they probably played it right. They said, "Okay, Kobe, we're gonna appease you a little bit here, so we'll let you talk to some teams." So we got a meeting with him and went out there, and I mean, he was phenomenal. And Rob Pelinka, who's the EVP out there at the Lakers now, he was his agent all those years, and I mean, he told us, he and his wife were looking at houses. He wanted, in Chicago, yeah, in schools and stuff like that. Again, there's no way that the Lakers were gonna let him go. And but so again, I'm going to be 61 and later this month, and so you sit there and you look back at some of the things, some of the experience you've had. It's it's been pretty cool. There's been some pretty cool stuff.
Speaking of experiences, I know you're a 3-time NBA champion, most clutch shooter. You were an assistant coach, and then you had to work with Neil Funk. What was that experience?
Oh, wow.
Was he as ornery as he was? No, he's the best.
Oh, Neil's always been ornery, but in a good way. In a good way. He's a lovable ornery is what he is.
Yes, he is.
But no, I'm Stacey. I feel very fortunate that, when I was asked to do the broadcasting, and see, Stacey's made for TV. Like, he's made for TV. I was made for radio. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't like to talk that much. So like when I did games with Neil on radio, I found my kind of niche and my rhythm. I could say some things, get in, get out, let Neil do his thing and color the game, and paint the game and stuff. So, but I learned so much from him. And you think about this. Think about a lot of the people he worked with over the years. Hubie Brown, who's still at 87, is still a great announcer. He worked with Doug Collins, who was always one of the great announcers. I mean, he's worked with a lot of, and he really knows the game. I mean, he was a player. Yeah, he was a really good player. So, yeah, but I'm not. You're going to have a hard time getting me to kill Neil.
Yeah. No, I'm not asking.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's my guy. That's my guy.
A little story
We miss him.
Yeah, he's awesome, dude. So Pax, I mean, the big news this summer is what the Bulls have done in free agency. We all know that. They have made probably the best moves, the most moves this summer. So from, looking out and looking in, what's your take on it and the direction where the organization is going? Are you happy with the way it's going?
Oh, I'm really happy. I'm really proud of Arturis and Mark. What they've done in a short period of time, they came in with the mindset of being aggressive, and they have been. You go back to not from the get go. Last year when we hired AK, and beginning of the COVID stuff. I mean, he really did a good job of kind of evaluating the situation as it was, and he made some early some decisions, not early, but a little bit later on before the season started. But I've been, I'm really grateful that there is a new way of looking at things and working, and the fact that they've been so aggressive and taken some chances. But yeah, you look at the talent on our team, and unfortunately, I know we were in on the Paul Millsap thing, but he decided to go to Brooklyn today, which you can't blame him. But they've just left no stone unturned, and I'm happy for our fans and the people in our organization who we've because we tried the last few years to rebuild it through the draft, and it didn't work. And so the fact that AK and Mark have been so aggressive, it's really been, it has to have our fan base excited, and hopefully, and the other thing, I want to mention this because I've gotten to spend some time with Billy Donovan over the year, and he's really good. He knows how to. He's a very good game coach, but he's a good teacher of the game. He knows how to hold guys to a standard and accountability level without being, the guy that's like, you feel like's riding you all the time. He sets the standards and what's expected. And with the talent that we have this year and Billy coaching, I if we can stay healthy, which is always in this day and age a big if, I'm really excited to see what we can be. Yeah.
And Pax, some people look at it that what AK and Mark have done is kind of tear down the team that you and Gar had built. But I think they forget that history shows that you did the same thing when you came in 2003. You turned over the roster with the exception of a couple guys in 2 years. I guess that's front office has to build a team in its own vision. And I'm sure even though AK uses you as a sounding board, talks to the Reinsdorfs, he's got to go about it his own way. What's your take on that whole process? Because you're kind of in an interesting position that you're still an advisor, but you have to let AK build a team in his vision.
Oh, and that's yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's in charge of organization. And so this whole business is about trust. I mean, so I believe AK and Mark and all the people in the front office, they trust that I have the Bulls' best interest at heart and everything. And that's all that's ever mattered to me. And so I've really enjoyed getting to know them. I think AK is really smart. He's got a little bit of gets a little ticked off at things at times, which I like. I mean, he's competitive and he wants to win at the highest level. So no, and believe me, you always understand in these positions that you're going to take a lot of criticism, and especially in this day and age. I mean, the platforms that are out there for people to just, lambaste you, they're all out there. And I think I told Stacey that night, I used to turn on sports talk radio every once in a while. I haven't listened to sports talk radio in 4 or 5 years. I mean, I just, on any subject, it doesn't even matter anymore. Right. I'm a much healthier person for it. So, but it's, there's criticism. I'll tell you a funny story. When Jerry first hired me in 2003, he came to my house, and so we were talking to my boys at the time. I think they were in whatever age, high school age, and as Jerry was leaving, he turned to them and he goes, "Now your dad's always been liked up until now." Not anymore. So no matter what he does, you're not going to be liked anymore. So, and he was right. I mean, he's right. So I hope that we, that our fan base now can put all that back in the background and focus on what this organization is doing now with Arturis and Mark and Billy, and let them lead us into this the next 5 to 10 years, and let's see what happens. I'm really optimistic about what we're doing, because they took some chances, and that's a good thing.
Well, the one thing I always take from it is, like, you got a guy like Jerry Krause, who should be a Hall of Famer as a executive, and for him to be booed as much as he was booed for winning 6 championships, that just goes to show you that you're not in this game to please everybody. You're in this game to do a job. And I think when people look and really break down what you've done as an executive, bringing in Kurt Heinrich after the Jay Williams situation, most teams would have panicked. Most teams might not have taken a guard in that situation, maybe thinking that, Jay Williams may come back at some point, because he did try to come back and play. But you guys went right back and rebuilt and went and got Kirk Heinrich. Then you got Ben Gordon. There were some very, very good years for the Bulls that sometimes people tend to forget, as they forgot when Jerry was winning championships. So, it just, it's almost like one of those things, Pax, is, what have you done for me lately? Yeah. And it's really sad to see, because, I know how much time you put into this organization. I know what you did as a player, and I know what you do behind the scenes, and no one cares as much as you. I know all your ex-teammates. It pains us to hear any criticism. I know it comes with the job, and I know you're tough and you got thick skin, but as your teammates, former teammates, we've all talked about it. It really pains us to hear, some of the negative stuff that comes, especially with some of the good stuff that you've done for the organization.
And I appreciate you saying that, Stacey. But here's the thing. In the last 3 or 4 years, I realized, and I relayed this information to Jerry and Michael, that we had become stale, and I knew that. And the fact that we made the decision to look outside the organization. One of Jerry's great qualities is that, and Michael's the same way, they're very loyal, and they just are, and it's a wonderful thing, and very lucky that we have ownership like that. But I always felt it was my responsibility to be honest in terms of where I thought we were, and I just felt there was kind of at times there was a comfortability in how we were doing things, and maybe we weren't looking at other ways to approach this thing. And so, the last year and a half since we made the changes, it's been new life in the organization, and it was needed. So I don't worry about that other crap, man. It's just not worth it. Because people don't understand, and the platforms that are out there just allows them to vent and be angry and be mean, and if that makes them feel better, then so be it. I don't have to drive home at night and walk into any of their doors and and live with them, so they can say whatever they want. People that know me, and that's all that matters.
Well, Pax, we thank you so much for being so generous with your time this evening. Enjoy your summer in Florida. We look forward to seeing you when the season gets rolling again. Hopefully get full crowds again at the United Center and enjoy that whole experience. And if you look over Stacey's shoulder, you can see that we have the replicas of the championship banners. The first 3 championships, John Paxson featured prominently on that. Of course, hit the shot to clinch number 3 down in Phoenix. So thanks, Pax, so much. We appreciate
Stacey, I got to ask, tell me, Stacey, what's your favorite championship, though?
I'd probably say the Portland series, when
bench mob.
When it seemed like Phil was gonna
put up the white flag.
Phil threw up the white flag, and let's just get to Game 7. We're gonna win it in Game 7, and down 15 points, and then we came back and we won. And my only regret is he didn't let us finish it. We got it down to 3, and it was like, okay, Superman, go back in there and win the game for us. But as you know, Pax, that all we wanted to do was win. We didn't care how we did it, who got the credit. Yeah. We just wanted to win rings. And, so I joke about that, but it's funny because even Scott Williams said something about it. Bobby Hansen said some stuff about it. So we all joke about it, but it was all about winning championships, man, for the city of Chicago and the Bulls organization. It was a lot of fun.
That was great. It was great. So thanks, fellas. Appreciate it. And ladies, thank you very much.
Pax, thanks again. Give our best to the family. We look forward to seeing you in person.
Pax,
real
I'll
soon.
be moving down there. that, baby. Don't act like you don't know me, baby.
All right.
Knock on the door. Hey, Southside, that's uncalled for, okay? You didn't say nothing the whole show, and now you just change your number. Pax will never change his number. That's my boy.
Changing my number.
Sniping on the way out.
Wow.
Pax, thanks a lot for joining us.
All right.
Next, we're going to go around the horn. Little rapid fire and other sports topics of the day. Episode 44 of Give Me the Hot Sauce rolls on.
Give me the hot sauce. Oh, my God. Susan.
Poor Pat.
Pax, thank you so much.
Thanks, Pax.
Wow, it was great to talk to John Paxson. We hope you enjoyed that interview. And where we're getting ready to reset here, Stinger brought up the fact that he had 10 points in the fourth quarter of their first championship when they went out in Los Angeles.
91.
And that was the famous thing where Phil said in the huddle, "Who's open?"
Who's
Pac?
open? Yeah. Give him the ball. He's open. Give him the ball.
So John Paxson had some great moments on the court and, of course, in the front office. And, you know, when he was talking about Derek, you could feel the pain, you know, because he knew that he had a special talent there. That if that group could have been able to be healthy, they would have won a championship at some point.
Derek's kind of like the Haley's Comet. You know, LeBron James, you know, those kind of, Kevin Durant, those players don't come often. And then when you get one, you want to hold on to it, you know, and if it was up to Pax, you know, if Derek never gets hurt, that, you know, tell him what that team could have done. You know, they were really just one or two players away from really being a championship caliber team. They were very close with the team they had.
Right.
But they could have used another shooter, you know, someone to take some pressure off of Derek, because at that particular, if you remember those games, it was Derek versus, you know, the Miami Big Three.
Yeah, because LeBron was guarding Derek down the stretch.
And they switched. He had a different defender on him the whole game, and then LeBron used his size and length on him at the end.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was Derek against three, you know, the Heatles, basically.
And then they brought in Rip Hamilton, and he was hurt, and he really didn't give him the outside shooting that they needed.
They got Bellinelli came in, and Bellinelli got hurt early. Luol Deng's back went out. I mean, there were so many things that happened, you know, during that time. But then you got the emergence of Jimmy. You know, that was a good thing. And then you thought maybe both those guys would be able to, you know, maybe that's the piece that, you know, Derek needs, you know, and that didn't work out.
It's interesting, too, that we have a different front office, and Pax made it very clear that AK is calling the shots, and he's there for a sounding board if he needs him. But AK and Mark tried to get Derek back. They wanted him back with this group. And I think that was the first person they reached to. And when Derek decided to stay with the Knicks, then they moved on to Caruso. But wouldn't it have been something if Derek would have come back for this thing?
I think the fan base would have exploded. I think the fans want Derek. They wanted him back. You heard it in Twitter and social media when it was even brought up that he may be coming back. Everybody was going crazy for it. I would have loved to see it there because, you know, you want to see a guy, you know, finish his career the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
You know, and this is a kid who's been through so much adversity. You know, he had a city turn on him. Let's not forget, you know, the same thing we just talked about Paxson and people forget all the good you've done. And then you start booing them. They did the same thing to Derrick Rose.
You're right.
Because in the media, it was portrayed that he wasn't, you know, he didn't put the team first.
Yep.
He could play injured, you know, and that wasn't the case because anyone who's behind the scenes knows that kid was hurt. And he wasn't 100%, and he needed to rehab properly. I mean, you go back to that season where he got hurt. Derrick Rose got hurt more that season than he had ever been hurt. Because you remember, that was a condensed season. That was a 50-game season. And Tom Thibodeau, as we know, played it like it was an 82-game season. He was playing his starters when they were up 20, 25 points, and those guys weren't getting rest. And if you remember Derrick that year, he had a turf toe. He had a groin injury. He had a lot of like muscular injuries, which I believe, I'm not a doctor and I didn't sleep in a Holiday Inn, but I do believe that contributed to his injury with his knee, because Derrick Rose had made that move 1,000,000 times. He's making that move now.
Right.
Now, even now. And to see that happen, I just think his body just gave out. He just was not, because when you get hurt, it doesn't matter if it's a groin, your back, your gluteal muscles, it doesn't matter. Your gait changes.
Yeah.
Okay. It automatically changes. You start favoring one side over the other, which you're causing damage and you don't even know it. You think you're walking normal. It would actually take a therapist, someone who does that for a living, to say, hey, your gait's changing. You're walking gingerly on the left side or the right side. We're going to have to fix your gait. And Derek was still playing hurt. So his gait was completely off. And I believe that contributed to his injury. I'm not a doctor, America.
But there were orthopedics that were watching that and saying he's going to hurt his knee. And then afterwards, with the torn meniscus, he said when he favors that, it's going to tear the meniscus. It was just flat out.
And I mean, I remember him getting hurt in Portland, coming back.
Yeah, just 10 games into that
10
season.
games into the season and just making a cut. And you just knew right. Oh man, no.
I remember that call. Yeah.
And you just hated to see it. And this is a kid who had to, he lived for this city. He really took it to heart coming back, playing at home and trying to do something special for this city. He grew up as a Bulls fan, grew up right around, not far from the arena, and wanted to really, really put the team on his back. And I mean, he took criticism for not recruiting. It's almost like they were looking for reasons to get on him. Like he's not recruiting hard enough. Well, if you know Derek's personality is like, hey, look, Chicago's a great city. This is a great organization to play for. We need you. If you want to be here, we'd love to have you. But if you don't want to be here, I'm not going to sing and dance and beg you to come play. It's if you want to come play in Chicago, I'm open arms. And you got to remember, and Derek was loyal to his teammates because you had Keith Bogans there at the time, who was his two guard. Now, Keith Bogans on a good team is a role player coming off the bench as a defensive specialist, but he was a starter on Thibodeau's team. Thibodeau loved him. He trusted him out there. He's a good, corner 3-point shooter, kind of like PJ Tucker is in that kind of a role. And Derek was loyal to his teammates. Derek and his teammates were loyal to Derek, and he took a beating for not recruiting those guys to come play.
I tell you what, my one goal for Derek is I hope he does great with the Knicks. Hope they don't do better than the Bulls because you got to win that bet with Nick Friedel.
No, that's already a winnable bet.
I hope Derek does well in New York, and that when it's time for him to quit his last year, maybe it's at the trade deadline, he gets traded back to Chicago, gets to play the last couple of months of his career with the Bulls and put that number one up in the rafters.
Yeah, that would be awesome because everybody knows I'm a big Derrick Rose fan, and that would be awesome. I had this discussion a couple weeks ago. This person's like, he's not a Hall of Famer. Why is he not a Hall of Famer?
Youngest MVP.
The youngest MVP, number one, automatically gives you automatically in the numbers, and his numbers are going to be solid when he's done. He's going to average 17, 18 points, and he's getting that off the bench. And that's why I keep trying to tell people when they say, oh, he's not as good. You're looking at old athletic Derek, the kid that was like a Haley's Comet, supernova, just came in here and just blew the league's doors wide open. Okay.
He's a different player, but still great.
But now this is the Derrick Rose everybody wanted. The guy that plays point guard, the guy that gets his teammates involved, that runs the offense. This is the guy that everybody wanted when he was a supernova. Now he's that guy, and it's like, oh, he lost a step. He's not the same guy. He's not the point guard that he used to be. He can't jump over a dollar bill. But if you watch Derrick Rose, he's still one of the fastest guards out there from end to end. He can get to the basket anytime he wants to against any defender. So I think he's a Hall of Famer, surefire Hall of Fame, to be honest with you.
Got the rifles queued up. Let's do a little rapid fire on some of the topics making news around the world of sports. And let's stick with basketball. Ben Simmons has told the Philadelphia 76ers front office in no uncertain terms he had a meeting with the owner. He had a meeting with Elton Brand and Daryl Morey and said, I want to be traded. And the Kardashians. They were in there too.
Whispers a lot
Always gets a good one in.
Production meeting.
Way to go.
He wants to be traded, and if he's not traded, he's not going to show up for training camp. And the problem for Daryl Morey, who's the head of basketball operations, is his value has been depreciated. Stacey, if you were the GM, he's got 4 years left on his contract. Would you just wait it out, or would you try to move him before training camp starts?
Well, the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to move him. And, right now the word is that Philadelphia is basically holding everybody hostage with these crazy demands, and they're not going to be met. So what they've done is they're painting themselves in a corner. You're making it almost impossible to move him. And then pretty much he's not going to play for you. If he's willing to sit out, then pulling the Aaron Rodgers type move and a power move, he could do that. He could sit out for the whole year and be like,
or he could get better.
That's what we want to get better. or he doesn't want to shoot.
Isn't that the sad reality of this situation here? Because we talked about Giannis in our call earlier, how he improved his game. I mentioned Magic wasn't a great shooter when he first came in the league. He became a great outside shooter. Why can't guys just kind of reach in? Because Embiid wants him there. Why don't you just get better? Why don't you get in the gym?
I think it's in his head, though, because we see video of him in the summer making three-point shots. He can make shots, but when he gets in a game,
well, it's a maturation.
I mean, he shot 35% from the free throw line in that series against the Hawks.
But look what happened to Giannis. We talked about Giannis all year long. You know, how he would get in that situation where the wall would be set up and he wouldn't know where to pass the ball. Well, he figured it out.
Yeah.
Well, I think with Ben Simmons is that do you really want to be great, or do you just want to be one of the guys, you know, just an NBA player? You have greatness written all over you. You have the ability to lead a franchise to a title. You have LeBron James X type game. You know, big guy, 6'10", can handle the ball, move like a guard. He's arguably one of the best defenders in the league. He could have easily been the defensive player of the year this year. I thought he got robbed. This is a guy that takes a tough defensive assignment. So he's got all the qualities to be a top 10 player consistent. He's only 25 years old. Okay, so now you got to ask yourself here, what's the problem? You sit with your agent and go, okay, what's going on with me? Like, I need to start showing up in the playoffs. I need to start being a little bit more aggressive with my jump shot. And again, as John alluded to, we talked about this. If Giannis can recognize his shortcomings and can make himself into a jump shooter, why can't Ben Simmons do that? And I think you're going to have to stop going Hollywood. You got to leave the Kardashians alone, because that's, you know, that's a curse. I mean, I'm sorry, that's a curse. They're beautiful. It's like Medusa. Don't look at her and they'll turn you to stone. you know what they said about Medusa? Medusa was a very gorgeous, beautiful woman, but you looked at her. Oh, frozen. So yeah, it's a distraction. Just focus on basketball, your craft. You all the other stuff will come along with that, the acting and all the endorsements and all that. A lot of these guys, and this happened even when I played, a lot of guys like to be the NBA players. They like to be NBA players. They like all the things that come along with being a player, but they don't want to put in the work. They talk about winning titles, but do you really want to win a title? Because if you really want to win titles, you as an elite player have to be the guy in the forefront. You got to be the Jordan. You got to be the Magic Johnson. You got to be the guy out in the front leading everybody. If you're content being in the back of the line, you're never going to win because there's no one to follow. You're going to follow the 12th man to the title. I mean, seriously, you're going to follow Felicio.
Right.
Felicio.
I thought his sweat card doesn't work.
Poor Felicio. I love Felicio, but I'm saying as an example,
his sweat card doesn't work.
No. They got to use the Rector now. They changed it. He looked in there and he's like, he couldn't read his eyes. But that's
Felicio. Don't let him in.
Yeah, see, but that's my point though. Like someone like that, you're expecting, if you're Ben Simmons, you want that guy to lead. He's not Tobias Harris, who's a very good player.
Yeah.
But Tobias Harris is a good complementary fit to both him and Embiid. Yep. He's a good third option. I don't want Tobias Harris to be the number one guy when I got a Ben Simmons. And so if you're Philadelphia, you're telling him like, yo, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
we signed you. And this is where organizations have to get tougher because they've allowed these players to hold them hostage. They've allowed these players to manipulate trades.
How many years have we heard in Philly? Trust the process. How many years Brent Brown was coaching, right? How many years did we have to hear that?
The process,
forever,
process is always.
They hit on one pick.
Yes. The process with them though is Embiid, first of all, the ability to stay healthy, number one. Okay. And then to be able to be in the game when you need him there the most, instead of sitting there eating hot dogs or eating grapes and not focusing on what he needs to focus. You seen that? Yeah, he's done that. He's done that. And so now last year he was serious because after getting beat by Toronto, when Jimmy Butler was on that team and it was Kawhi Leonard hit that crazy shot that won the game, he was visibly distraught. Like he knew they should have won that game. And his mindset was totally different the following season. And they had a good enough team to get, there's no way in the world Atlanta should have beat them. I don't care what anybody says.
Nobody saw that coming.
No, there should have been. If you would have said before that series started, do you think Atlanta's going to beat them out and said, hail to the no? I'll bet you $1 million they don't win that series. And next thing you know, I'd have lost $1 million. I'd been in America. I might have been selling some shoes or somewhere. Huh?
Well, we talked about Ben Simmons maybe not having a really good grasp on his situation. Another guy who was in the news this week, our former old friend with the Cubs, El Mago, Javi Baez. What an interesting week he's had. You know,
That's
Stacey,
Susan's favorite player.
You know this, players within the teams, they have little signals, little inside jokes they make. And with the Mets, it was the thumbs down thing when they get a hit to, you know, you're thinking it might be some kind of inside joke that we're not privy to, but he was asked about it in a post-game press conference. He said, well, that's because the fans have been booing us. We want to give them a taste of their own medicine, something to that effect. I mean,
we're finished.
I mean, media, I know
it's over, huh?
This is English is Javi's second language. So maybe he didn't express himself the way he wanted to, but you got to be careful with that kind of stuff, don't you, Stacey?
Well, first of all, the fans pay their money and they're going to be able to say and do what they want, whether you like it or not. As an athlete, you know this. And this is where the mentality, you have to have strong mentality. If you're a player like the Mets who are getting booed, they should get booed. They suck. They should get moved. They were right in the playoff.
They were in first place a month ago.
Yeah, they were in the playoff. They were right where they needed to be, and then all of a sudden they just went nosedive. Mm-hmm. All of the players with all the money are not playing well. Their owners.
Lindor has been terrible.
Oh man, the owner has been letting them have it, and so that's that. And when the owner's letting you have it, that just feeds into the fans because now you got New York, which is talk radio, and that's a big market. Fans want to have a reason to boo. They want to have a reason to be upset because it's like, hey, this guy makes a $100 million a game, and I got to go home. I got to go
and
work.
I'm stuck in traffic.
I got to go work. I got to get up at 4 a.m. and go cut slabs of meat in a cold locker, and I'm mad. And they're looking for that. And so, as a player, if you know your team's playing bad, you need to use reverse psychology. You need to act like you're playing on the road. Have that mentality that I'm playing on the road, and don't get into jaw jacking with the fans. Don't be doing any signals. I'm just playing on the road, and I'm just going to operate. Because what do they do on the road? They boo you.
Yeah. How do you turn 200 million to 100 million in Spanish?
Oh, why don't you tell us?
That's depreciation.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what.
You're stuck.
Thumbs down.
Yeah. Hey, the Cubs offered Javi a big contract just before COVID hit in spring training of 2020. When they were down in Arizona, and Javi and his representatives turned it down. I think he'd like to have that over again.
He might have the same agent as Dennis Schroeder. They might have went out to dinner because Schroeder had the same situation with the Lakers. Yeah, $84 million for 4 years and turns it down. Yeah, and now he's got a Dorito bag and a Coke. Who's cute? Oh no,
Mago. And then he had the great slide into home, and everybody cheered for him. They gave him the thumbs up. Fans are fickle. That's
you know what? If they start playing well, then they'll cheer them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when you kick yourself in the nuts.
What? What happened to the rifle, Stinger?
Misfire.
Hey, this next question is for you. What do you think about the Patriots giving Cam Newton his walking papers and go with the rookie Mac Jones?
Well, that's Belichickian distraction.
Belichickian, is that a real word?
Well, it's distraction.
How do you spell that?
Everybody was wondering.
That's a verb. That's a verb, Mark.
I watched the games. Mac Jones was unbelievable.
He was good.
And so,
how many times did you watch the game?
I watched a lot of the games.
And he had on replay too.
But I love Cam. I've been a Cam fan, and you guys know that. I love
have his
Cam,
rookie card.
but I don't have his rookie card. But you just eliminate the distractions. Now we know it's Mac Jones, and let's go because come four games in the season, Tom Brady comes to town, and that's going to be really intriguing.
Is he the next Tom Brady?
He's the next Joe Montana. He looked that good. And so, he has a command of the offense. I'm just saying, who knows?
Is Cam Newton done, you think? But he's going to catch on with another team.
No, he signed with somebody, didn't he?
He will at Minnesota, maybe. But the thing is, the offense that they run is more suitable to Mac Jones.
Doesn't make him the next Rondo.
So
no, we're not talking about Rondo today. So give me the rifles one more time. So Mac Jones is starting, but Justin Fields is going to be watching as Andy Dalton
starts. He should be with that offensive line.
It might be better for him in the long run, right, Stacey?
Hey, listen,
they brought a guy off the couch to block it at left tackle.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, get yourself some life insurance, Justin Fields. Get yourself some life insurance. You stay on that sideline, baby. Protect yourself. That's about the safest you're gonna be. Because I'm telling you right now, with that offensive line out there right now, they got it. They went to the YMCA. They asked a couple guys, and hey, you guys look like you're pretty big. You want to come out and block for our rookie, our stud franchise quarterback? Yeah, come on out.
The Red Rifle's going to really take it in that game.
The Red Rifle. Hey, Red Rifle. Listen, man.
Red badge of courage.
Listen, hey,
exactly.
Red Rifle. Get you some insurance, brother. Get Lloyd's in London. Cover yourself. Cover yourself. You may not last the whole season.
Call Chubb.
Yeah. Speaking of insurance, I guess you had some advice for our friend Jason Benetti and Steve Stone.
Yeah, no, don't sing the nationwide jingle ever again, America. Listen, I didn't create the jingle. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know
Took it to a new level, though.
Yeah,
Totally
I've kind of taken it to a new level. I will say that, but I didn't create the jingle. But I have now a lot of imposters that, they made fun of me when I was singing it, and they joked about it when I was singing it, and now everybody's trying to sing it. Okay,
They even had Gordon Beckham try to sing it when he was filling in.
Yeah. It's you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. Like I said, there's only one Michael, and the rest of everybody's Tito's. Okay, everybody who tries to sing the nationwide. I just found out yesterday that my partner, Adam Amin, used to be an opera singer in high school.
Really?
That was amazing.
Wow.
He just dropped that like everybody knew it.
I didn't it was like we all knew that. And I was like, what? What? He's like, yeah, I used to, because he does have a deep voice for a little bit of guy.
Musicals.
He performed musicals. He sang.
Doesn't mean you can
Yeah.
No, but seriously.
Now it all makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow.
By the way, I just got an update. Neil Funk says he's my guy, John Paxson. I hope you paid him.
So,
Neil Funk.
he got the same treatment all of our guests have.
Yeah.
To this
We'll
point.
send him some nuts. We'll send him some
Hot
Planters
sauce.
peanuts.
Yeah,
Some hot sauce.
Oh yeah, no hot sauce. It costs money. Sorry, you got to buy that. No more free one. We'll give you a man card. It's
But
free.
Stacey, the folks at home can get that hot sauce, can't
Oh
they?
yes,
Oh,
hey,
boy.
hey,
There
you go. See it over John's shoulder?
America. Listen, for you guys who are on YouTube, you can see the hot sauce. There it is, right there. That's the barbecue sauce. Okay,
King's Q.
Yeah, King's Q. Okay, and then you got the St. Pat's Verde. Do we have that back there, Stinger?
Yeah, if you just send us an email, we'll send you a man card and 20%
Look at
off
that.
on your next
All right,
order.
Look at that. That right there.
Where does the email
would that
go?
be?
Yeah, do we ever figure that out?
You got to be more specific.
Info at givemethehot.com.
Yes.
GiveMeTheHotSauce.com.
Send
Now-
it to us.
Now, America, I'm telling you right now, that right there, see that St. Pat's Verde right there? That's my personal favorite right there. Yes. And I love it. I put it on anything with
drinks it.
I don't say all that now. You're doing too much over there, Tim. I had some of my quesadillas last night.
There you go.
Ooh, my goodness. Oh, Lord. But they're all good. Go to givemethehotsauce.com and give it for a gift or just get it for yourself.
Treat yourself.
And then, treat
Be good to
yourself.
yourself.
And then, you know what? And she'll like it too.
Yeah.
Give me the hot sauce.
Life's too hard.
yeah.
Treat yourself. You got more
You got some
rifles?
guns?
Oh, this guy.
Well, he was modeling the hot sauce, so he did a good job there.
Shots.
One of our favorite segments here as we get close to wrapping up the show is talking about Stinger and his bin. But we understand that
Baby oil.
your better half also has a bin or access to a bin.
Yeah, she does.
It was an accident.
And this is our
The
friends
Bubble Up
from
folder.
Bubble Up. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a bubble up folder.
The
You can
Cloud
see,
Reimagined.
The Cloud. I have all the photo, all this Paxton and all the stories. Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
great
check
story
that
from the
out.
Ringer. But go ahead, Susan. I'll play
No,
the
I'm
video.
pretending I'm moving and I'm clearing out the basement and finally going through some of my brother's belongings.
Here's
and
a look at
and I
it for those on
found-
YouTube.
I found a little plastic container and he's got his whole Sports Illustrated, Michael Jordan, Walter Payton,
Oh,
Multiple copies too.
Ozzie Guillen.
You know, we could do a live auction on the show.
We could.
man,
yeah.
all right.
We could.
Hey.
Well, we'll cut you in on it.
Those are in mint condition.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got two pairs of
These look a
Jordans.
lot better than John's little greasy cards. These look authentic. John's car looked like it came from Harold's Chicken. I'm just saying it's all greased and oiled up. Susan, those are in mint condition.
those look nice.
Those look nice.
Yeah, I said, should I bring him down? John's like, no.
Look at that. John don't want to bring him down. He don't want to bring him down. No, he
They're
don't
gonna
want to
be
bring
in
him down.
John's tub next week.
They'll be in his tub with Harold's chicken grease all on Michael Jordan's face, and it look like he's sweating, but it'll be grease. Oh my goodness.
He tried to wear Steve's Air Jordans.
Oh,
They
that's
fit.
terrible.
They were very
That's
I'm
comfortable.
going
terrible.
to wear these. I
See,
said,
those should
"What?"
be in a glass case.
Damn
Yeah.
They
straight.
should be in a glass
You hear
case.
that?
and they
Instead
should
of
have,
a basement and some plastic.
yeah, they should be in a glass
Come on,
case,
Susan.
and they should have your brother's name on them.
Yeah, get them all
Get a
framed.
little, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's a
yeah.
good
I'm on
idea.
it. I'm on
Yes.
it. Just
Yeah.
what I need.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
another project.
Another
for
project.
Southside
But you know what,
Suzy.
Another
Southside,
project.
Southside is
What?
it's memories.
I know.
And you rather have that. You
Memories.
rather have that in the glass case than on
Oh.
John's stinky feet. Okay, so I'm just telling you. Okay, just you don't want him wearing those
No,
nice
I-
Jordans
Yeah, not happening.
because everything we just saw in that video in the bubble up folder, everything looked pristine. Everything looked
Yeah,
like it
no,
was
he
in
took
mint
really good
condition.
care
I
of
mean,
it.
I'm ready to start bidding on some of this stuff myself because they're looking like when John shows me these greasy cards and it's like, okay, this is worth XYZ. I'm like, I need to see an authentic quote, something that says this is
Yeah.
authentic.
You must have a collection of your own. No?
Yeah, I got a pretty nice collection
All
myself.
right.
So when the Walshes sell their home, those will all be hanging
They'll
in
be
the
all
house.
hanging
Like
there.
Bill
Yeah.
Russell.
They'll be
right?
part of the house.
Exactly.
They'll be part of the house. You can have all the
Yeah.
tubs.
No,
Yeah.
you don't. We live in Packer Hell. You can't, you can't.
Packer hell.
Yeah,
Packer hell.
Wow.
That's Titletown, baby.
Wow.
That's green and gold.
When actually, true story, when my brother, same brother, he moved, he lived in Milwaukee briefly. And when he left, he put a Brian Urlacher fathead in my basement and John didn't realize it. And he walked down the stairs and he just like froze. It's like, what is that?
It's right next to Brewski.
So I had to redeem myself. So now we've got like Urlacher, Brewski.
Gronk.
He's
Yeah.
looking for Urlacher's hair right
And
now.
so people
Yeah.
come to my house
Yeah.
to perform maintenance and they look and they see.
Do you want to talk about the haircut you gave your husband?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm getting my hair
yeah.
cut.
What's you gonna say?
Welcome to
Yeah.
O'Hare.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
if you're watching on YouTube, you look over John's right shoulder, you see the caricature of him, the stinger. That's what he
Yeah.
looks like right now.
See, last
I'm on
week,
strike.
he came in there. He had a John Bon Jovi hairdo. America, it was long. He had one of those Ben Franklin
He
little
had the flow
mullets.
going.
It was kind of short on
It
top.
looked terrible.
But no, it was like Phil Collins. He had a Phil Collins do last week, kind of short on top, but long in the back. And so we come back this week. We have our production meeting, America. So I'm looking, I'm like, who the hell is this little baby face dude? And yes, baby face Nelson, as I was calling him. He looked like little Sweet Pea on Popeye. And I think now he realizes his wife should not be cutting his hair
Thank
anymore.
you. Thank you.
I got a free haircut. I get to get a haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We can tell it's
You
free.
cut Susan's
It's
hair.
free. It's free.
Let's do this on episode. You cut Susan's hair.
No.
Yeah. And
I did
then
not sign up
Yeah.
for this job.
yeah, you didn't sign up for that haircut
No.
either, Susan. I'm gonna tell you right now.
We were walking in here today. We were a little late and we had, traffic. She's like, I didn't sign up for this job. And I was like,
See,
what
see,
job? Oh,
see,
the
yeah.
haircut. Okay.
Yeah. See, Susan likes to vent sometimes,
Oh,
we hear her
sometimes.
cackling, we hear her cackling in the background, America. Okay. But most nights, because we ask her to do a lot of stuff. Man. She's the unsung hero of the Give Me the
There's
Hot
no
Sauce.
question about
She's
that.
the unsung hero. And so I've been trying to get her a microphone. Her husband Stinger over here he's been blocking it. Finally, Mark Shanowski's wife said, "Hey, you guys need to start, featuring Susan a
get her
little
out
bit
there.
more. Get her out there a little bit more."
Not sneaking in from the side.
She's in the background in the dark behind the curtains, and finally we got her to the
In the
table
kitchen?
today. Look at her. Hey, get in there and make me a sandwich. That's what John said. You missed the spot. Hey, honey, I seen you on the little security camera, and you missed a patch of snow. That's what John does to us, ladies and gentlemen.
Another true story.
Yes, it is another true story, but we love Southside here.
No question about
and
it.
we're glad that
Front and
she's
center.
now
Thank
hiding
you.
in the dark. And
Just be
she's
careful of whispers behind you.
Yeah.
You never know what he might
there. Yeah,
say.
you never know.
You got
Yeah.
one more rifle shot for us? It is Labor Day weekend. A lot of people have plans, but before you go out, before you take your trips to wherever you're planning to go for the holiday, you have to watch NBC Sports Chicago Friday night, 7:00. Stacey King, Adam Amin calling White Sox baseball against the Kansas City Royals. Stacey, what have you been doing to prepare for this great opportunity?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Okay. I'm just gonna go wing it. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna know. Listen, I think people are gonna be really surprised with my baseball intellect. Okay. When you hear me say, they want to hear all these catchphrases, I'm gonna be out there like Kurt Gowdy. What is this?
Just some, little music for you.
Man, that sounds so creepy. I got a little nervous there for a second. I didn't know who's coming into the Sriracha Studios.
We were waiting for Adam Amin to burst into song.
Yeah, oh my goodness! But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's it's one of those things, Mark, where you get out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You do basketball. Basketball is so natural and easy for me. And then, you go into doing just like for you. Remember when you came down and you got in, you got to do Neil's job,
right?
And you went out of your character. And then once you got going, it was fine. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to be myself. I hope it's a great game. I hope it's
get on the umpires if their calls they miss some calls.
Oh yeah, I definitely am. Just like I'm a fan.
You're going to ride that.
I'm going to ride him. I'll probably curse at him.
I can't wait.
Wow.
Get your ass out of here, you suck.
And the great thing about baseball is it's such a long game that I'm sure we'll hear a couple of promos for the Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast.
Yes, you know what? Hey, listen, we can't be pubbing that up right. I was gonna slide that in. See, you just alerted the Skynet, the eye in the sky. I was just gonna slide that in. I've been sliding in all the promos, but now you just let everybody know Skynet is gonna stop us.
If you get one of those terrible if you get one of those 5-hour games, maybe you can ask Adam to tell about all the musicals he's been in. Maybe you can treat us to some songs.
Man, I definitely now. He hit me. He sprung that one on me today as an opera singer. I was like, oh, I know you're a lot of things, but I didn't think you see you as an opera singer.
What isn't the nationwide jingle solo?
It is a solo, but since he brings something to the table, I may a couple of times a year make it a duet. I've tried to be duet with some other people. Remember like Lisa Byington? Lisa Byington, she tried to hog the mic. She elbowed me out the way and tried to sing it on herself, but I stopped her. She got shocked like the little dog in the collar. I stopped her. Neil's tried to take over. I stopped him too. Okay. And who else tried to take over? What's the guy that hurt his shoulder? You said he fell on his
he fell. John Sadik.
John Sadik.
He's doing the Reds, and he had both arms in a sling.
I'm not laughing, John. I'm not laughing. That's not funny.
What happened
to him?
He fell. I think he might have been running, and he fell on both elbows and broke both elbows. I don't know why he's running.
That could cause some life problems.
Yeah.
Some serious life problems.
I hope nobody tied his shoestrings together, because that seems like something would happen if he tied his shoestrings together and he just got up and ran. Like somebody said, you're going to miss the plane. And he took off.
Hey, he's still calling the game, though. You got to give him credit.
Yeah, see, when you told me that the other day, I thought you were joking.
I sent you a photo.
I thought he sent me a photo of this guy running. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, he broke his elbows, fell down on both. I'm like, who does that? Like, how do you do that? Most people, I know if I was to fall, I'm a commando roll.
You're going to roll?
I'm a roll. I'm a roll. I'm going to break my fall. Hey, one thing to tell you, I was at my house one night. I'll share this. This is a funny story. I'm in my house. It's like 2 a.m. I'm going down the stairs, and I never go down the stairs without having the lights on, right? So I'm going down the stairs, and I'm taking one step at a time. And I get right towards the landing, and I forgot that there's another step.
One more to go. Yeah.
And I stepped off of that, and literally, help, I've fallen, I can't get up type of moment. It was splat on the floor. Oh, I was like, oh, Lord, help me. And then all my kids like, hey, what happened? What happened? I'm like, shh, it's okay. I was so embarrassed. It's okay. I said, damn, am I getting old? Like, how did I not remember that there was a stair there?
Well, where was the roll?
No, there was no roll because I didn't even expect to fall. But I did I fell on my shoulder though. I blocked it instead of falling on
your elbows.
Instead of falling on my elbows, I fell on the right shoulder.
That's what an athlete would do. Yeah.
Yes, fall on the right shoulder because I know how to fall. But the fact that I failed though, I was just like, man, how did I miss that step?
Are we sure that Tom Brenneman didn't push Sadik?
Oh,
here he is right here.
Show America.
If you can see John, who worked with Stacey for a couple of games. Stacey decided not to attend the breakfast production meeting because Oklahoma was on.
And that's terrible.
John, get well. That's
he's a great dude. Great dude.
I think he listens too. I think
he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Probably not after today.
No, we just lost.
We have a way of doing that to people. I mean, we run them out.
One of our 30,000 subscriptions. He's left.
Yeah, I think we've done all the damage we can do for episode 44. We're glad to have Stacey back from Oklahoma. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
With Adam and calling the White Sox Royals on Friday night.
We're gonna have some fun talking about that game.
Hope you enjoyed the John Paxson interview. We had a lot of fun with Pax, and episode 44. I think this will go into the books as one of our best. Stacey, let's bring it home.
Hey, America. Drive home safely, Chicago. Beep, beep. And she'll like it too. Give me the hot sauce.